the most significant attack on Russian territory since the conflict began, Ukrainian forces launched a major incursion into the Kursk region, prompting President Vladimir Putin to denounce it as a severe provocation by Kyiv.
We will have to start with the events in the Kursk region. As you know, the Kyiv regime has undertaken another large-scale provocation and launched indiscriminate shelling of civilian buildings, residential houses, ambulances with different types of weapons, including missiles.
The Kursk region's acting governor, Alexei Smirnov, responded swiftly, imposing a state of emergency and restricting access to certain areas. Hundreds of people have been evacuated and taken to temporary government accommodations because of the severity of the situation.
Last night I reported the operational situation to Russian President Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin over the phone. Vladimir Vladimirovich keeps the situation under personal control. The president emphasized that the region will be supported in all areas. Over the last 24 hours, several thousand people left the shelling zone in personal vehicles with our help. All of them are also provided with assistance.
The Russian Health Ministry reported that 31 civilians, including 6 children, were wounded, with 5 fatalities confirmed by Smirnov. Military casualty figures remain undisclosed, and the National Guard has ramped up security around the Kursk nuclear power station. Russian officials claim to have seized 420 square kilometers of territory since June 14th. Ukrainian forces struck back near the border town of Sudza, 530 kilometers southwest of Moscow, prompting fierce clashes. General Valery Gerasimov, chief of Russia's general staff, reported that Russian forces halted an advance by up to 1,000 Ukrainian soldiers, with airstrikes, missile, and artillery fire, effectively repelling them back to the border.
At 5:30 on 6 August, units of the armed forces of Ukraine numbering up to 1,000 people went on the offensive with the aim of capturing a section of territory in the Sunzhinsky district of the Kursk region. The actions of the units covering the state border together with border guards and reinforcement units, airstrikes of missile forces, and artillery fire stopped the enemy's advance deep into the territory in the Kursk direction.
In contrast, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and the general staff maintained silence on the attack, only acknowledging intensified fighting in the adjacent Sumy region and significant Russian losses. The US claimed no prior knowledge of the incursion and stated that Ukraine's actions did not violate US policies on weapon usage. Officials reiterated their unwavering support for Ukraine and affirmed Ukraine's right to self-defense.
We are going to, obviously, we've seen the reportings, obviously, so we're going to reach out to the Ukrainian military to learn more about their objectives. As far as the specifics on that, I would refer you to the Ukrainians to speak about their own military operations. That's where I would refer you to. But we are, generally speaking, as you know, we have been supportive of Ukraine as they are defending themselves against Russia's aggression.
The fighting around Sudzha, a pivotal gas transshipping point for Europe, continued as the Urengoy-Pomory-Uzhhorod pipeline remained operational. Russian military bloggers and unverified footage on Telegram suggested the situation in Kursk was more critical than officially stated, with fears of a new Ukrainian front and potential threats to the Kursk nuclear plant. Putin is facing growing backlash from within his own country for his military operations in Ukrainian territory. A prominent opposition activist, Ilya Yashin, labeled him the horseman of the apocalypse during a public event in Berlin on Wednesday.
This front line has become a tragedy for Ukraine. It is Ukraine that is currently the victim, the main victim of this confrontation. And Putin, Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia, seems to be the horseman of the apocalypse, behind whom this darkness is moving, covering Ukraine.
Speaking to a crowd of supporters, Yashin described the current conflict as a global confrontation with Ukraine as the primary victim.
Today, a global confrontation is unfolding in the world. A huge global confrontation. It is already acquiring the characteristics of a third world war. This is a global confrontation between tyranny and freedom, between progress and obscurantism.
Yashin's comments come shortly after his release from prison as part of a historic prisoner swap between Russia and the West. The swap, months in the making, occurred despite relations between Washington and Moscow being at their lowest point since the Cold War. This significant conflict, the largest land war in Europe since World War II, comes at a crucial time as both nations vie for strategic advantages, anticipating possible shifts in US support with the upcoming presidential election. The battle lines are drawn and the stakes have never been higher.